I love JRPGs. Absolutely adore them. A good bit of the games I buy these days are JRPGs, although I did recently buy Turnip Boy Commits Tax Evasion, so I'm excited for myself. But of all the JRPGs I've played, none of them, personally, are as fun nor as meaningful as Final Fantasy 15. It's one of my favorite games of all time. The story is fun to play out, the characters actually feel like real friends hanging out, the combat system is a blast. So why did I title the video Final Fantasy 15 and the Descent into Madness? Well, it's because of one simple thing. Let me explain something real quick. The soundtrack is absolutely amazing. It's beautiful and powerful, and it's a blast to listen to you while you drive. It literally cycles through everything. You might even get what's the shit, it'll come to me. But, there's a wide variety of soundtracks. That being said, the first song with lyrics that you hear, as well as the last song in the game, is fucking Stand By Me. Yes, that Stand By Me. You know the one I'm talking about. So therefore, I'm Alex, and today's thing is Final Fantasy 15. Spoilers ahead, and don't judge me that I'm playing on New Game Plus, because why not? So, the big question is probably, do I have to have played other Final Fantasy games to understand Final Fantasy 15? No, not really. Final Fantasy 15 is its own title, with its own characters, the story. But what is the story? Well, the story revolves around Noctis, a prince who has no real direction and on the run from something. Ignis, the smart yet slightly flat person, he's probably autistic, with mad cooking skills. Like he cooks for the boys. He cooks for the boys. Prompto, the wisecracking goofball, who always is ready to capture the coolest moments on your journey. And Gladius, the older brother of the group, who's willing to lay his life down for his friends. You primarily play as Noctis, although you do later gain the ability or unlock the ability to switch between each character and their unique little abilities and weapons. You travel around and prepare for his wedding and defend the kingdom from forces that want to bring Eternal Night. That being said, it's mostly a road trip game where you and Ignis can switch out. Ignis is the auto drive and you are the manual. It's very cool. I'll talk about that later. Drive from place to place, meeting new people and enemies. It's a really fun game that gives the JRPG genre a fresh feeling to it while giving you a pretty intriguing story and lovable characters. So if I don't have any issues with this game, why am I making this video? Well, let's start with my history with this game, because it's good to know where you start and where you begin, right? So I had recently finished my game and was looking for my next fix. Dear God, I sound like I'm on drugs. As I was talking to my dad, I mentioned how I really liked the way Final Fantasy 15 looked, and he mentioned that he had the game. It was a day one edition, and I was like, hey yo, can you send it down? And he said yeah, and he sent the game down. So I was already happy to get the game because it's a gift from my dad, and it's a game I thought was really cool. And so, and it ended up being the only game I played for a while, for several months, for 40 hours straight. Just I literally wouldn't play any other game. And here's a few things that I liked about the game that made me play it straight, nothing else. A day-night cycle, which is connected inside the game, and it doesn't have to do with what's happening in the outside world, which I like. It's nice. A dash that gives extra damage. When you dash at enemies, it'll give a 1.5 0.5, 0.25, and 2 times. I think it goes up to 3 times. And then there's a weapon that like utilizes it and absolutely boosts that to the max damage if you're far enough away. It's called Ragnarok. I use Ragnarok way too often. Here's footage of me using Ragnarok if I haven't already put it up the minute I started talking about it. In auto drive mode, but also in manual mode, this was that whole Noctis Ignis thing I was talking about. It's good. The driving's kind of wonky, but it's like also like very like it holds. The driving section kind of just holds your hand because it's not the most important part of the game, but it kind of also is. They really need to fix that. Also, the ability to upgrade weapons. Not all weapons, but some weapons, including your main weapon. It is what's upgradable, and it is cool, and it is awesome, and I don't do it too often because I have better weapons. But I digress. The fact that each character has a different moveset, essentially. Prompto uses guns mostly. I like his guns. You have Gladius, who uses a giant greatsword, which does dummy damage. Then you have Ignis, who primarily uses daggers, but he's also very proficient at spells. The spells are like really nice. So yeah, and when you get the ability to switch between them, it makes the game so much easier. I'd suggest grabbing it as soon as possible. Also a flying car. Unfortunately, as far as I know, you can only get it after at the end of the game, after you've beaten it. But like, also, I don't believe that, and I will be attempting to find a way to do that, because screw them for holding that from me. These were just a few of the things I loved about the game. The character dynamics are fun to watch and give you a real sense of them being brothers fighting together till the very end. Their hearts connected together in a bond that proves to be the strongest in the world. There's a Natewantstobattle song, Reclaim Your Throne, which is playing in the background if you haven't been listening. That I think really encapsulates everything about the game and who these characters are. If anything, that's the core of this game. That is the core heart of this game, aside from the actual message it's selling, which is a message about, well, I'll talk about that later. It's a fun game, and it makes my autism happy. It makes autism really happy. Plus, there's a DLC that features the individual characters and shows you more about who they are and what their motivations are as characters. The fact that this game takes the time to flesh out characters when you actually have the time to like stop and pay attention and look around, it really like makes the game awesome, and it makes the game fun and more entertaining. So yeah, if I love the game so much, why am I ranting? Why am I making this video? Well, my dear viewer, let me talk about what's actually going on. TLDR for those who don't want it to be spoiled. Noctis goes out to get married. Shit happens, right? Go here. Here, this is in the description. If you want to, skip the part in which I talk about the game, go here. Yep. That's yep. Gotcha. Ha. Now, for those who are, staying and, don't want the game spoiled for themselves, or want the game spoiled a little bit. Now the game is actually about Noctis's journey to become king. A true king that is worthy of the throne, which does eventually end in marriage. The journey there is rough, as though as Noctis, has to come to terms with his destiny, which is to sacrifice himself to stop the eternal night. And Arden, who is I guess I can't remember, but I remember correctly, it's dude's just been living forever. He was going to be the first king, but then he got snuffed because he wasn't worthy, and then has held a grudge ever since. Like a little bitch. Yeah, but the Eternal Knights breed monsters and threatens to end the world. Noctis has to deal with the literal weight of the world, Yes, that is a Nier Automata reference. And his kingdom, which he became the ruler of after the death of his father and the fall of his kingdom. Along the way, Noctis meets all kinds of people and learns that he's never alone, which is where Stand By Me comes into play. You could think of it as Noctis telling his friends, those he's met along the way, and those who've forgiven them, those who were enemies and then became allies, those who have given him strength, and even the gods nearly forgot about that. Yeah, Noctis meets the gods, and they give him his blessing. Well, aside from 2, because they're built like cunts. To stand by him, to be with him till the end. That when the night has come, and the land is dark, and the moon is the only light that he sees, to not be afraid, because there's people standing by him. That's why it's the first song you hear in the game, and the last is credits roll. Everything the game's been saying, the story, the tales, the side missions, everything it's been telling you for the last 40 or so hours is all summarized within Stand By Me. I hate this game so much, but I also love it to the moon and back. It's one of my favorite games. Final Fantasy 15 is a game that I love to play from beginning to end, and it's one of the games that resonated with me enough to make me cry. It nearly drove me to tears. It's that good. Personally, it's that good. It's spectacular from start to end, and it makes you care about the characters and their struggles, and it makes you care about the world that you're adventuring in. It makes you care about Noctis, it makes you care about Prompto, it makes you care about Ignis, it makes you care about Gladius, it makes you care about Lady Ludofreya, it makes you care about the dog. Final Fantasy 15 is a game I suggest playing deeply. If you have a game that touched you deeply, tell me in the comments. If there's something you'd like me to talk about, tell me about it. If you want to support me, please consider subscribing to my Patreon. Yes, I made a Patreon. It's only $3 a month. And while you're here, subscribe to the channel to see me talk about more games and topics that I love. That being said, I'll catch you on the flip side. Adieu.